All right, guys, fire away. They, in the infamous wisdom of what we do, transfer portals open and everything else going on.
Jeff, can you kind of walk me through what your emotions were when you realized you're going to have to, rest Aoka again after the Kansas game? Were you kind of panicking at all there, or how did you handle that situation?
Wow. Going back to that, we were surprised that there was that big of a problem in that game. It'd been a little bit sore prior to, the game, right? Prior to the Kansas game. But we just thought, kind of normal soreness. You come back, you're favoring 1 foot. You've had that kind of thing. So, when she kind of said no go for the second half, that surprised me. But knowing Yoki, she knows her body pretty well. And so, I think even after media, we had media and I still didn't know much about it, right? And then met with the doctors after that. And that's when it was kind of decided that, hey, we need to maybe take a more aggressive approach because she's in a lot of pain, not just a little bit of pain. And she only played 4 minutes and 36 seconds. So at that point, though, in talking to everybody, I was confident that we would get her back. Maybe it's just my optimism or whatever, but I felt pretty good about it after talking to everybody. And so, no, at that point, I just knew hey, we got to coach the group we got. We got a good group. We got to get them playing as good as we can, and that was just my thoughts.
How blessed do you feel now that, the plan worked out?
Well, I tell you, that was a lot of my just call it emotion or just happiness after the game. You got a kid that's wanting to have something done just to have an opportunity, right? Knowing that none of it's guaranteed. I was just so happy for her and for our entire team, but to see her, kind of break down on the court after the game, it was pretty special to watch her have that kind of emotion with her teammates. So, obviously glad it worked out, and we felt good about going into the week, though. What we said was we felt good about where her practices had been. She's been pretty good.
Coach, Serena mentioned that she doesn't know if she's a better passer this year or she just has more shot makers around her. In your mind, is she a better passer this year or does she just have better shot makers around her that are able to make those shots consistently?
I think the elephant in the room for me is, why are you wearing a Dolphins deal? That, to me, is the number one question out of all you want to ask me. Please, continue.
I'm from South Florida. I'm a Dolphins fan, unfortunately.
That's an answer.
It has not led to a lot of great moments in my life.
And you felt the need to wear that in here, because why? All right. We'll get back to your question. Was again, I had trouble focusing on it. What was it?
Serena mentioned that she doesn't know if she's a better passer this year or she just has more shot makers around her. Sort of, what's your opinion on whether she's a better passer this year or just has more shot makers around her?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think that her vision is so much better. She's choosing the right pass more often. I've been able to ask her what she's seen, and she gives better answers than she did early in her career. Many times Serena would give me the answer. I'm like, what'd you read there? I didn't read anything. I'm like, I don't have an answer for that one, okay? I need you to be, players when they're young tend to read the player that they're playing with, like in the pick and roll game. And what they really need to be reading is the defense. They need to trust that they know where their player's going. And so, I think she trusts it better. I think her eyes are where they need to be much better, and I think that's leading to a lot better passes.
And I know that you guys still have to prepare for a game, but as you mentioned, the portal is open and sort of you do have to focus on that as well. How do you balance preparing for the Sweet 16, but also the portal?
Yeah, I'll be done with the portal today. Not completely, but in terms of this week, I won't be dealing with it. My staff knows that. But yeah, you got to balance both of it right now. And so, we were, talking to people yesterday, and I've got a bunch today to talk to. And but after today, that'll be the assistants kind of balancing that. But it is a. We haven't figured it out. We haven't figured out in any sport when to do it. If football has it right in the middle of their bowl prep, and we've got it right in the middle of March Madness, and I don't know if there's a right answer, especially when you have the number of kids that went in. I think at last count there was over 800 in there from one day. So it's certainly it's part of our game, and thankful for doing both right now, though. We joked about that. Boy, it beats only doing one thing right now. All right, so thankful for that.
Coach, big story going into this game is the Juju Watkins injury. Your perspective, though, as a coach of many players who've went down with season-ending injuries, how unfortunate is that for the game when such a great player goes down?
Well, I think it's unfortunate when any player goes down, not just the great players. I mean, all these players work so much to play in this time of the year, and certainly Juju's play inspires a lot of people. We've been through it with Aoka Lee, and it stinks every time you have to go through it, and it stinks for the players, and so, yeah, it definitely does, and the good news is that we've seen players come back as we've seen Aoka Lee come back. They come back, and that wasn't necessarily the case 20 years ago. So we've come further that way. So, there's no doubt any injuries, they're a part of our game. They're just the unfortunate part that we have to deal with.
Challenging does this become now from a scouting and preparation standpoint when a player who has played 92% of all minutes for USC isn't playing now in the biggest game of the year?
There's not a lot of clips with her not on the floor, I'll tell you that. So, but they played so well without her, obviously. Every team. You look at the teams, you look at UConn, they've had Beckers and Fudd out at times. And so every team has probably dealt with some of that. We're just do the best we can in terms of what they run. My guess is they're not going to get too far away, but somebody's got to take those minutes, and we'll take a look at all the rotations that they use.
When you recruited Tamara out of the portal, did you see her as maybe like the missing piece to help get to the second weekend of the tournament?
Well, what we saw was the missing piece for us to continue to add really good shooting around Lee. I don't know that I went that far that this is the missing piece for that. We felt like two needs, and I've talked about this before, but the two big needs that we had were shooting and a high-volume shooter that could knock them down. And then we needed a more physical backup center. We thought we'd get growth out of Lester, but Kennedy Taylor has come in and played very, very well. So we needed better depth behind Lee because of not just if Lee got hurt, but in games like that. And we saw Kennedy play very well.
Obviously, maybe the next player up for USC is Kiki. Just can you tell us about what you've seen on film from her?
Well, she had 36 the other night. That wasn't hard to find. Played extremely well, aggressive in every area. They ran a lot of ISO stuff for her. She's a problem on the block. She's a problem offensive rebounding. I mean, she's been that way her entire career. I would expect her usage rate to go up here. She's going to be one of them, but they have other options as well, so they'll spread that out. But certainly Kiki is going to be one of them that gets a lion's share as she did the other night.
You talked about it a little bit after the game, but how special was it for Aoka to come back this year and then Tamira to join the team and then achieve getting to the second weekend?
Yeah, you could just see. I mean, obviously, that game had so many back and forth moments, right? It wasn't like that game was somebody had a 15-point lead and somebody came roaring back or whatever. That one was, I had to keep checking the score because it was like, man, I thought we were up 3. Oh, we're only, are we down 1 now? I mean, it was that kind of back and forth and back and forth. We had to keep checking it, and the angle of their scoreboard wasn't as easy as some are. But I think just that emotion and the happiness that we saw in the locker room, on the floor afterwards, a plane ride home. I mean, those are the moments that they'll remember, and the opportunity to keep doing those moments, right? The opportunity to keep doing it because we've got a great opportunity in front of us. So, we're not spending much time in the rearview mirror now. It's now on to that next one, and now that next opportunity.
You mentioned the plane ride home. Just how special was it to have the fans there at the airport when you got back?
Yeah, I expected 25 or 30. I don't know how many the tally was, but that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool, and that was, I think, cool for the players. It was the plane ride was energetic early, super quiet through the middle. I think everybody crashed at that point. And then, 10 minutes before we landed, it started picking up again, the excitement, and then just walking into that kind of welcome home was pretty special.
I wanted to ask you about Jalen a little bit. I know Yoki said that, and Serena both said everybody on the team appreciates her, but maybe a little bit for people on the outside looking in, maybe underappreciate just all the different things that she gives you?
Yeah, I feel like this has been something that we've talked a lot about in that, when I write up lineups and I substitute and all this, Jalen's one that I have trouble pulling from the lineup. So if you want to say, if I want to say, let's get our best shooters on the floor, Jalen's in that lineup. Okay, let's get our most versatile lineup on the floor. Jalen's in that lineup. Oh, we need an extra ball handler. Jalen's in that lineup. So she's the one player that I feel bad for because she never gets a break. Like in offensive execution, she's in every rep. And I went to her one day and I said, hey, why don't you go shoot free throws? You've been in every rep today. And she was like, thanks so much. It's like the one break I've given her in 4 years, right? And those players are rare because she can fill a gap that's needed anytime that we need it. And she's smart enough to do it, and that's rare. We'll certainly be hard to replace. We'll just enjoy it while we have it.
Anything else for Coach Mittie? All righty.
Everybody good? Thank you, guys. Thank you.